I'm very excited to welcome Rebecca Martin-Fagerholm and Erica Duffy to Kicking the Seat. Rebecca, we've talked a few times. I think we talked last year about one of the myriad projects you're working on or involved in. Yes,
The short
CINEMA
film
FEMME
fest from
Short Film
last year.
Festival.
Mhm.
When is that? That's coming back, right? It should be
Yes,
coming back around
and
again.
we're going to be in person again, and we're going to be at the Music Box. It's very exciting. Yeah, so that's it's Sundance, and then it's Short Film Fest. That's the order of things right now. So yeah.
Excellent. Well, I'm sure we'll be talking more about that coming up real soon. But right now, we're going to talk about the merger of CINEMA FEMME, which you
Mhm.
founded, and then Erica, you are the founder and CEO of Camera Ambassador, both kind of Chicago institutions, and you've come together to form the Call Sheet,
Yep.
Volume 2 of which, here's the time for the prop. That's your cue. Awesome.
Whoop, sorry, wrong way. Okay, there you go.
I can never get holding stuff up in front of the camera.
Yeah,
Right.
it's like,
It's a
right.
failing.
Mhm.
But the physical and digital copy of that, the volume 2 are out now. So we're going to talk about it. I want to start off by saying, well, there's a quote from a profile in the new issue of Tux Turner, and they said they were recounting an experience. I think Coleman Domingo had said in some kind of an on-set experience, anything you can do in the Windy City. And this is a Chicago institution that we're talking about here. So I want to get into, how did the Call Sheet come about? What is it? Where can people find it? And what can we expect from this new issue, where the theme is unconventional superheroes? I
Yes.
know that's a lot,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm just going to throw it all at you, and we'll do kind of a free form, like, let's just get to it.
Okay. Erica, do you want to start?
No, you take it away.
Okay. Okay.
Editor-in-chief.
Well, Erica has been kind of like a consultant mentor for me since pretty much the beginning of CINEMA FEMME. Erica saw our newsletters going out about all the interviews and essays that we were doing, and I voiced to Erica how much I wanted CINEMA FEMME to be a print magazine in the beginning, but that it just was not a lost dream, but not a realistic thing for me to do financially. So I just, I would always say, oh, someday do a print magazine. And then Erica, like, when was it? 2022?
22, yep. 22.
Yeah, you were like, let's do a magazine. I'm like, awesome. So from there we kind of came together with a vision. With CINEMA FEMME, I've always been about elevating underrepresented voices, specifically women and non-binary people in film. And Erica has a similar mission, and also, geographically as well, not just, women and non-binary, but people from not the coasts, like not LA, not New York, but, the Midwest, Washington, just places that have strong film communities, but they do not get elevated in the mainstream media. So the Call Sheet seemed a good place to have, or a good platform to elevate these underrepresented voices. And that was the initial seed, I guess I would, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, Erica, talk about like your, I guess, ground floor involvement.
Yeah, absolutely. So like Rebecca mentioned, we've worked together, in a capacity for CINEMA FEMME for quite some time, and really just developed a friendship. And
yeah,
I just, like, Rebecca's like one of my muses. Every time I talk to her, she just makes my life better. So we've had that relationship going for a long time now. It started during the pandemic, and then when she started expressing the print edition of the magazine of what in this type of medium, it was something that I was really passionate and interested about, because at Camera Ambassador, even though we are an equipment rental house, we have an additional amount of initiatives that we do that are kind of our community support sector of the company. So we have like an annual grant that we do. We do a lot of workshops and demos and create a space for people to come in and do workforce training in the space. So it really seemed like another medium of where we could accomplish the work that we're committed to with elevating and celebrating the community. So with that mission in mind, it really felt like I could put it under this umbrella. I think Rebecca and I both have very different skill sets and passions, and they align perfectly to be a yin and yang together, where the things that she's really good at, that she's passionate about, are really opposite of what I am. So we were able to kind of bring both of our backgrounds. I don't think I could ever make a magazine without Rebecca. She probably could without me, but
no. And so for the second issue, Erica really stepped up in terms of overseeing everything. Like I would say the first issue, you were like, do what you want, you know, yeah. So she kind of left me alone a while, and we did, you know, I got some great writers, and we, our first issue was about healing through your art. So our central story was around Emma Thatcher's film Provo, who was Chicago based, but now she's in LA. But so yeah, like it was a great theme, and you know, but Erica is just really good at seeing how the picture can all come together in a way that's more digestible. I don't know if that's a good proper word, but like, so for this issue, the unconventional superhero idea came from Sam Bailey, who directs like half of the episodes for IRONHEART, the Disney Plus series. And she actually her publicist came to me and was like, we want to be in the next call sheet. And I was like, how did you know about us? Like, I mean, Sam Bailey, she's the, I don't know, director, originator of Brown Girls, which was filmed in Chicago, but she's been in LA for a bit. So, and she directs so much television, like Netflix shows, now Disney Plus. So the fact that she came to us and was like, I want to be your cover story pretty much. And I was like, sure. So, you know, the Marvel thing, I'm not really a Marvel person so much. I'm kind of getting tired of it, but you know, I was like, superheroes, and I'm like, I don't want to do a Marvel issue. You know, I want to do like have her story inspire, like find these superheroes, like real life superheroes behind the camera. So her story kind of connected with all these other filmmaker stories of people that are doing like amazing things, right? You know, through their filmmaking.
Yeah, well, two kind of questions there. One, with Sam Bailey finding out about, you know, the call sheet and wanting to be part of it, I assume that is indicative that, I mean, you said there was a Chicago connection before, but that the magazine is getting out there, getting out to the coasts, right? Having a reach beyond the
which
Midwest.
Is great.
So have you found that I mean, are you getting kind of more of those responses from, you know, the like LA and New York and other places? Are you finding that reach is growing?
Yeah. So I think Sam Bailey, we showcased Mackenzie Chin in our first issue. She's a Chicago actor and now filmmaker. She did this short film called A Real One that won the Hugo Prize actually at the Chicago International Film Fest this past year. But she has worked with Sam, and Sam saw her feature and she was just like blown away by it, because, you know, the design is something that really makes the magazine amazing. Like you can see here, just the beautiful, oh my God, I can't do this. Okay. Beautiful photography, you know, and Mackenzie's spread was gorgeous as well. And yeah, so I think she read Mackenzie's piece and was like, I like what they're doing. In terms of our reach, I think it's going slowly, but impactful in an impactful way. I don't know if those are the right words, but yeah, the Chicago film community is probably the most excited. Like I've been seeing the excitement the most from the Chicago film community, but we do have connections on the coast, so we'll see. Yeah.
The other thing too, I'll jump in and say is, I think there's two parts to it. One, we're having the digital platform, and it's a really cool platform. It's not just like a PDF that you go and view. It's actually a site that is designed for magazine hosting. And when you like turn the page, it actually, like
it is really cool
digital version of that. And then there's the ability to add links and things like that. So as you're reading it as a publication, it's, really interactive. But I think the second part of it that, has grabbed the attention of people, maybe even outside of Chicago, is that, there's not really a lot of people doing actual print, non-digital actual print magazines anymore. It's kind of become like a lost art form in some way. And that was also part of my drive and passion for it, is bringing back this, because it is annually and there's one edition that we've done each year. It's kind of this archival, physical thing. Everything's digital now and everything moves so quickly, and having this physical thing that's like going to be on my bookshelf every year for the next 10 years. And I can flip back to, 23 and remember, maybe not wanting to, but remembering the strikes and, really having this historical record, I think is something that's different, that, is a common medium, but maybe not as common anymore. And that's attracting, I think, people to be more interested in it as well.
Yeah.
What's the kind of getting into the nitty gritty, but I'm fascinated by it. Like, what's the distribution model? Like, are you able to get into like Barnes and Noble, or is it like really just
that would be
local things, or how does that work? And how do you even get started? Okay, yes, we've printed a physical magazine. Now we want to get it to people. How does that even happen? Because the reason I mention is it is exciting to see a print magazine, because I grew up, reading Premiere and Entertainment Weekly, and those have all kind of gone the way of the dinosaur. They have online presences, but so does everybody else. It's like trying to find something on Netflix. Hey, we got a new movie out on Netflix. It's Tuesday, so there's like 300 other options.
Yeah.
So, but print, I think, is getting to the point now, or potentially will, where that's the standout. Like, oh my God, you've got a physical thing I can hold. That's so cool. It draws the attention.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what, our approach is really to try to build it as we can support it. So build it organically. With the first volume, it really was reaching out to all the connections that Rebecca and I have here locally. And that was the platform of the distribution of everybody who, took out an ad or supported it to really bring it to life. Every single one of those businesses and organizations we delivered copies to, so they were available for distribution there. And then what our eventual goal is to expand that, where eventually you can become a subscriber of it, and you would pay the annual subscription fee and it would just show up in your mailbox. So that's, it's a slow and steady process, so that way we can learn as we grow, and we can really do it to the quality that we want to do it. We don't want to just launch it and not have it, because the people that are featured in the magazine are kind of riffing off of this volume is our heroes. And so we feel that they deserve the quality of what we see as, stellar writing, stellar features. They're featured in such a gorgeous way. The paper quality, all those elements to it. But the long-term goal is, if anyone's listening to this and they have connections at Barnes and Noble or other large distributors like that, that's how we're organically building it, is through finding those connections of people that have that same level of commitment to showcasing and celebrating the film community that we do.
Yeah. And I actually see our magazine being at like film festivals. It is locally. We've had it at the Midwest Independent Film Festival, and movie theaters like the Siskel and the Music Box in Chicago. But I see this like in theaters, all over, and video stores. It would be cool to get some distribution in those places where people crave those kind of stories. So, yeah.
Sure. Now, speaking of stories, it is an annual publication, which, like, I'm blanking on the talent's name, but she was talking about working on a trilogy of short films during the pandemic.
Oh yeah. So
Ava
Alison Torum, but it was
Yes.
Alison Torum is the one who's doing the quarantine trilogy. Eva Fabre is her assistant editor. And so we interviewed Eva, and so yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, because reading that, I'm thinking, oh, this is a really cool story. I want to see what this trilogy is, because I think the last name of the name of the last film was Roadhead. I'm like,
Roadhead, yeah,
wow.
it's so funny. Yeah.
But I'm reading that, and there's almost, it's not a postscript, but at the end, they're like, oh, well, we got to wait to finish this up because the strike's going on, and the strike is now a couple months behind us, and that's sort of the risk of doing something that's annual, because you put it out and then all of a sudden, oh, the news broke and things are kind of moving again. Is there a thought to either doing something that's more frequent? I know doing even an annual magazine has to be a huge undertaking, but either doing that, or is there a way to kind of do like follow-up stories online to expand that, like a new, like volume 2A or something, where you catch up at the quarter mark and see where everyone's at?
Yeah. We actually have a blog that we started like, I don't know, September of last year, where I've been following up with the interview subjects from the call sheet. So that's actually on the Camera Ambassador website.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's where you can kind of find the follow-up stories. In terms of like mini magazines to go with the big magazine, maybe we'll see. I do want to speak to some of the stories, if that's okay with you.
Please, yeah.
Yeah. So one story that I love doing was Bad Acts. Like, have you seen the documentary? It's on Hulu.
I've not caught up with it, but I know you're a huge champion of that.
Yeah. So the documentary is about the Civ family, who's in Bad Axe, Michigan, and they're an Asian, Mexican, American family in a very Trump white small town in Michigan. And they have a restaurant, and the documentary is about their immigrant story. Well, the father came from Cambodia. It's just an amazing story. And David Civ is the director. Diane Kwan, who did Minding the Gap, is the producer. And I got Matt, my husband, Matt Fagerholm. We actually stayed with the Civ family during the summer. So we got to kind of go to the places where the documentary was filmed, and their family is just so beautiful, so hopeful. And so superhero to me for that family is just showing change. Like, our country has been so divided, and that family is bringing people together through the power of that film and their story. And they're just going to all these festivals, and just their presence is making a difference. So seeing real change through a film, that is like a superpower, I feel. So that was like one of my favorite stories to do with Sam Bailey's. So that was one of the stories. Emily Lape, she's a Chicago filmmaker. She did Mercy's Girl.
Oh yeah, she's been on the show a couple of times.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Emily's awesome. So Emily Jacobson, our contributing writer, wrote about, she interviewed Emily Lape, and Emily Lape, I feel like, is very like a role model for women and queer people in the film community. And just by getting her work out there, she's developed this huge following, and she's a superhero for those communities. So it's just exciting. It makes me excited about how our film industry could look different, so.
And that's something that has always kind of puzzled me, is there are a lot of calls for representation of marginalized voices, and I think the last decade at least, we've seen a lot of shifts in that direction. But
Mhm.
Hollywood has always been seen as for I think good reason, a very liberal bastion. So I want to kind of get both of your thoughts on like what's the disconnect there? If there are ostensibly very liberal people at the pulling the levers of creative power, then what is with this perceived, I guess, lack of representation when you'd think that they would be the first people to put forward all different kinds of voices?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of it's money related, which is sad because this past summer, I think we saw with Barbie and Oppenheimer that people are craving like stories that aren't Marvel or regurgitated 1,000 times. But unfortunately, that's where most of the money has been going, and it's because of that. These underrepresented voices behind the camera have been kind of lost. I mean, it does seem things are getting a little more diverse on screen. So I see change happening based on where people are putting their dollars, seeing films, but I also see people who are scared to invest in authenticity. So yeah, it's complicated.
Right. Well, I mean, the good/bad news is, I mean, Marvel had a terrible year last year. And so, and DC didn't fare very well. I mean, I feel like the superhero fatigue or the bad superhero movie fatigue is setting in.
Mhm.
So maybe that by definition has to open up, there's going to be a gap there that someone or some force, some genre needs to fill.
Mhm.
So there's definitely, I think, an opportunity there. It's interesting because Nia DaCosta, who directed the Marvels, which came out and unfortunately was part of that that string of not so successful
Yeah.
Marvel films. She is there's a piece in Call Sheet Volume 2,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
addresses her other kind of like non-Marvel
Mhm.
films. I thought that was a very kind of interesting take. Was that sort of deliberate, like talking about for
Yeah.
lack of a better term,
So
the real movies?
yeah, no. So we started this magazine, this issue, like late summer, and at that time we didn't have access to the Marvels. And when I heard that Nia DaCosta was doing this film, I was like, she's a great filmmaker. Let's explore those two films that she's done before the Marvels, and then kind of showcase those, because we didn't see the film because
Right.
so and that's another thing that makes me kind of sad, because like Chloe Zhao, who also did a Marvel film with the Eternals, I don't think these female filmmakers are able to make the films that they really want to make because of these huge production companies just tearing apart their ideas. So I don't, this is horrible. I haven't seen the Marvels. I want to,
No, you don't.
but
I'm sorry.
okay. But no, that's a sad thing, because Nia DaCosta and Chloe Zhao are amazing filmmakers. But then you're like, what? This doesn't make sense, because their vision gets lost in the shuffle and people don't want to take chances at these big studios. So
I feel like that's sort of one of the dangers of this push for diversity. It is great to get more voices out there, but also, I mean, tokenism's a terrible word, but like, hey, we have an Asian female director making the Eternals, but if you put her on something that doesn't really, I happen to love the Eternals. I hated the Marvels, but I love the Eternals. But because I felt like even in that movie, I could see a voice that wasn't part of the Marvel machine. And I think a lot of people hate it
mhm.
because like, oh, it's slow and it's boring. It's, meditative. I'm like, yes, because it's not like the other movies that you've put out. Um, so I mean, with Nia DaCosta, with Chloe Zhao, it almost feels like a double-edged sword. Hey, you're getting your shot, and you're kind of like standing up there to represent, different voices, but you're also being kind of ground up into the Hollywood Marvel meat grinder.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. And it's, I don't know. And then you get things like Barbie, which I don't know what your feelings are on Barbie. You didn't like it, but I loved it. And I think why it is so great is, yeah, Mattel was on top of all of it, but Greta, by the way, we have a piece on Barbie in our magazine.
Yeah, it was about Gloria.
Gloria, America Ferrera. Yeah, so that movie moved so many people and brought so many people to the theaters, and it was because they didn't mess with their script. Like, they let them do all the things they wanted, and I think that was what made the difference. So,
right.
yeah.
And I'm not a fan of Barbie, but I can appreciate that Greta Gerwig and, to whatever extent Noah Baumbach, that creative vision, it does feel like they were left alone by Mattel, by Warner Brothers to do this thing. I don't know how that happens, but if that kind of effect can bleed over into other, studios and properties and stuff, then I think that's how you get the voices across.
Yeah,
for sure. Erica, I'm sorry. We've been hanging out.
I
Me and
love
Rebecca
it.
have been hogging the whole conversation. Do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I mean, I think it kind of goes back down to, money and power. And I think something that I think about a lot in the industry and across all the platform and the work that I do is that I think that there is a complacency of people just do things because that's the way they've always been done. Instead of saying, how should we do it? What would be a more productive, collaborative, authentic way, whether it's telling a story or renting a camera? It's all across the industry where these systemic historical things are just being done just because they always have been. So I think when we're talking about some of these different projects that are successful and are not doing it how it's always just been done, and then those are successful, the more of that, the trailblazers who are paving the ways for that, that's where the money and power will see, oh, there is money and power in that model. And, it'll be a cycle just like everything else where there'll be good and bad and yin and yang with it. But I do think, progress is being made, and the more progress that's made, it's a snowball where it will continue. And I think Chicago is really a forefront in this industry, even though it's not, Hollywood and we don't have as much business here. I think that the content that's coming out of Chicago and the way that film sets are running and the ethos of the people that are in decision-making positions, we really are at the forefront of making these changes.
Yeah, definitely.
And I do want to, I think that's a great point, and it puts me in mind of something else. I guess we'll close out here where we began with that Tux Turner profile. They are a trans non-binary, performer, and they're talking about how like they were getting scripts for independent, projects for trans characters, but they were all like, I think the term was hypersexualized and or weird. And so they were kind of relieved to look at, projects that treated them as kind of like regular. Again, I feel like I'm walking through a minefield here, like regular people,
Yeah, like they're
not like a character instead of a trait or an aspect of who they are. And I think that's the kind of thing, in combination with more access to, for lack of a better term, the levers of power, getting the ability to get genuine voices across with material that is accessible to a wider audience without pandering or discriminating. And that's the key to, I think, this big precipice that hopefully we're on with bigger stories, more inclusive stories. I'm so done with the comic book movies and
I think this magazine is refreshing in that sense, because the only thing I didn't even talk to Sam Bailey about Ironheart because Disney Plus was like not allowing her to talk about it. So we talked about her whole, but it was good because we talked about her whole scene in Chicago. and how she got started and, you know, the impact she's made. So in a sense, that kind of spiraled to other stories that were, you know, empowering, that were not comic books. You know, it was just, I'll just say one more. I know we need to get going, but there's another story about this woman who, her name's Nalini Nakarni, who's she climbs trees in the rainforest. And there was a short documentary called Between Earth and Sky that was done about her. And she's a real life superhero. She has a Barbie, actually, Treetop Barbie, that was made in her honor. So it's like, these are the people that are really doing things and impacting. And so this is like, I don't want to say anti-superhero, but it's like real life superheroes. So unconventional is kind of like real life. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, redefining that that term as well. And one last thing that I wanted to just make nod to is at our pre-launch party that we did here in Chicago, we worked with a florist, and we had flowers that were part of an installation, because that was also a visual theme throughout this edition. And the florist made it so that each flower had a little you know, vase that was like a portable vase with it. And part of what we wanted to relay to the audience that was privileged enough to be there in person at this pre-launch is that every single person that's there is our superheroes. And each of those people were able to leave with a flower in symbolism of what the community is and what we're building, and redefining what that looks, and building the table, creating those seats, and putting people in power who can make those decisions and really make impact in the industry.
Yeah.
Well, that's really cool. I am still scratching my head at the Sam Bailey thing. Disney not wanting the director of IRONHEART to talk about IRONHEART. To your point, it is great because that limitation allowed you to talk about other things in the interview. But I guess
I think it was related to the strikes, because when I talked to her, it was all going on, and that's how our magazine starts, actually, with an introduction about the climate last year with the strikes. Yeah.
Right. Well, the strikes are behind us. There are, you know, opportunities in abundance. Yes. So onward and upward. And, you know, it's kind of unfortunate. We have a full year approximately before the next issue of the call sheet. So can you give
check out the blog? And, well, Erica, you do the plug.
No, you do the plug. I don't know what you're about to plug.
No, I was just saying, like, people who are craving more of the call sheet after they go to thecallsheet.org, they can go to the blog, which is on Camera Ambassador's website, and you can find it on cinemafemme.com as well. So
I'll have links to all that down below so people can check it out. Definitely. But before we go, I want to ask, if you can you give a preview of what you're cooking up for 2024? Like what kind of story, or either stories or interviews, or just like a general focus?
So for the call sheet, stay tuned on that. Usually I wait for inspiration for things that happen during the year. But for Cinema Femme, we're kicking off our Sundance coverage on Friday. I interviewed June Squibb, Nebraska. Sorry.
Yeah.
She's a big deal to me. June Squibb and Zoe Worth for their film Thelma. And June Squibb is 94, and she carries this film. It's like an action film, but she's like 94. And so that's actually the opening film at Sundance on January 18th. And so I'm going to be posting that interview on Friday to kick off our coverage.
Well, when you say Friday, that's actually technically today when the episode drops. So if the stars align, I can share that interview.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, like, one of the really exciting things about it, with it being, and, you know, if we can do it, we're going to make more than one a year. It's, you know, really just trying to establish this as a quality publication. So if you have money, if you have resources, and you're listening to this podcast, please contact us. And that's honestly what's happening, is even since Volume 2 came out, which has only been a few weeks, I've gotten numerous cold emails, and it's like, you know, that traction even from the first volume. But the cool thing is that it's what's in each volume currently, with our format of it being annually and it being an archive of each year, is it's being created right now. So what's going to be in volume 3 might be a project that you are filming right now that we're going to cover, and that inspires us, and, you know, depending on what the theme is and the direction that we go with it. So yeah, I think like that's where it's like an active part of our communities building it at the same time that we're creating it. And that's personally something that I really love about it.
Awesome. Well, looking forward to seeing, you know, what the year brings. I mean, it's going to be a big year for movies and everything else because we're in 2024. So yeah, I'm excited about volume 3. I'm excited to get a copy of volume 2. I just read the digital version. I got to get my hand on it.
Send me your address, or we'll just have to meet up, and I'll just hand you a copy. So yeah.
And I want to just thank you so much for
having you, Ian.
That was such a great supporter, and like we're just so honored to be able to be here and like chat with your listeners.
Well, thank you for hanging out and talking about this, and also just for creating this magazine. As we've discussed, it's a magazine, which is incredible, but it's also, you know, I love Chicago. I'm a Chicagoan, so any chance to elevate those between the coast Midwest voices and voices that, frankly, have not perhaps had a seat at the table, I think you're doing great work. So thank you very much, Rebecca and Erica. Folks out there, all the information is down below. So check out CINEMA FEMME, the call sheet, camera ambassador, and whatever else I can think to throw in there. But yeah, thanks everyone. Take care. And yeah, we'll catch you later.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ian.
Bye.
Bye.